Hi guys, so today we are making super delicious Nutella stuffed chocolate chip cookies. Let's get started.
I really need you to hear what I'm saying.
You can always use something else instead of Nutella, so like a white chocolate spread, or you can use Lotus Biscoff spread. So the same method applies for different kind of fillings that you want to put in your cookies, and then the rest of the cookie method will remain the same. Okay, so I like teaching you basic skills. I love it when you guys adapt and change recipes according to what you want to do. That is what I want to see. I want to see you guys using your own initiative, using the tips that I give you, and then pushing your own baking knowledge forward, okay, and creating maybe your own version of whatever I make. I love to see that, okay? So as usual, I've got my electric scale and I've got my heat-proof bowl. I'm gonna melt my butter in the microwave, guys. So if you don't have a microwave, what you wanna do is get yourself a saucepan and then weigh your butter into your saucepan, because we're going to melt our unsalted butter. So put your scale on. For this recipe, we're gonna use 100 grams of unsalted butter. I'm just gonna cut it into small cubes and then put it in my bowl so that it melts easier in the microwave. I'm going to put that in the microwave to melt. Whilst our butter is melting, we are going to get some baking paper. We're going to cut out a small section of baking paper. What we're going to use this for is to scoop out our Nutella and put it in the freezer, okay? Because we're going to have to freeze the Nutella pieces so that we can put them inside the middle of our cookie dough, okay? I'll simply just cut off a section of baking paper that is big enough to fit about 10 scoops of Nutella on. Get your Nutella, about 1 teaspoon per cookie. So what you want to do is get your Nutella out, okay? A teaspoon, like a heaped teaspoon per cookie, and you kind of just put it onto your sheet, just like so. And put my Nutella in the freezer, okay? Butter is melted. 100 grams of soft brown sugar. I'm using light brown sugar. You can use dark brown sugar as well. Just be aware that your cookies will be a little bit darker in color if you use dark brown sugar. You can use either light or dark. It's absolutely fine. Put your scale back on 0 again and weigh out 50 grams of granulated sugar. So just regular. You can also use caster sugar if you have caster sugar as well, but the normal granulated sugar works absolutely fine as well. So 50 grams of that goes in. So you're going to mix your butter and your sugar together until it just dissolves into there. You can do this with an electric mixer as well if you want to, but you don't have to use an electric mixer. It'll be fine just like this. So you just basically want to beat your sugar and butter together just until the sugar mostly dissolves. That's sufficient. We don't have to beat it too much. Okay, add our egg in. Also going to go in with a teaspoon of vanilla extract or vanilla bean paste, and we're going to beat our egg and vanilla in until it goes nice and pale. Okay, so that is what we're looking for. Now we're going to go ahead and add our dry ingredients in. Your bowl back on top of your scale, and then I'm going to get my large sieve. I'm going to put that on top of my scale. Now if you want to, you can weigh your dry ingredients into a separate bowl and then sift them into here. That's absolutely fine as well. Put your scale back on 0. 200 grams of plain flour. And we're going to go in with some salt. Half a teaspoon of salt. Okay. Adding our raising agent. So we're using bicarbonate of soda. Half a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, or baking soda it's called in some countries. So just level off your half a teaspoon and then put that in. Sift those all into your mixture to fold the flour into there. And we don't have to fold it in completely, okay, because we're going to add in our chocolate chips yet, and we're going to fold those in as well. So I know you're thinking, oh my god, she's got a Nutella in the middle, why is she adding like a whole bunch of chocolate chips as well? But they're cookies, guys, and I feel like then just the Nutella in the middle is not sufficient. I mean, if you wanted to, you could also add nuts into here as well, because Nutella has hazelnuts in there. So if you want to add like crushed up hazelnuts or something like that into the mixture as well, you can absolutely do that. That is mostly mixed in now, okay, if you can see. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in my chocolate chips, okay. So put your bowl back on top of your scale. I'm using 150 grams of chocolate chips. Now, like I mentioned, you can add whatever you want into these cookies, so you can change the recipe however you want. So whatever you add in there, the total weight of that should be 150 grams, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and add 75 grams of white chocolate chips, 25 grams of dark chocolate chips, and that will equal a total of 150, okay? So whatever you add in there has to equal 150 grams. That's all you have to be mindful of. Chocolate chips in there, and I'm going to fold those through until the mixture comes together and it's all completely come together as a cookie dough, okay? It will be a bit hard to mix, so you can switch back to your wooden spoon if you find that a bit easier, okay? And it will basically form like a dry cookie dough, but it won't be like overtly dry, okay? It should come together as a dough rather than a batter, okay? Can you see it's already coming together? Your cookie dough will come together like this, like a dough, okay? Now, making just normal cookies, you will chill it in the fridge for about half an hour to 45 minutes, okay? And then you will take them out, roll them out, and then bake them, okay? But because we are making Nutella stuffed ones, what we're going to do is we're going to stuff the Nutella in them first, and we're going to freeze them for about 5 minutes and then bake them. Let's have a look if our Nutella has frozen. It's mostly frozen, so we're going to have to work quickly because we don't want it to melt, okay? Have a plate ready to put your cookies on to freeze. Put some baking paper on the plate. Put some baking paper on a plate that will fit in your freezer. Okay, so we've got a piece of baking paper. I'm just going to put it on my scale because I want equal size cookies, so I'm going to weigh out the cookie dough that I use. My scale's on 0, so each cookie I want it to weigh roughly about 60 grams per cookie, okay? So we've got 60 grams of cookie dough, and what we're going to do is we're going to roll it into a ball, and we're going to push the center in, okay? And we're going to take a piece of our frozen Nutella, okay? And we're going to put it in the middle of our cookie dough, and we're going to cover the Nutella with the cookie dough, okay? We try and work fast because we don't want our Nutella to start melting. Okay, now our cookie dough should be covered in the frozen Nutella. Put that on your plate. And we're just going to do that to all of the cookie dough and then put it in the freezer to freeze before we bake it, okay? So we need 60 grams, that was exactly 60 grams per cookie. And then your teaspoon of Nutella, frozen Nutella goes in the center. Cover it with the cookie dough. Okay, mold it around the Nutella. It's quite soft to work with the cookie dough, just work fast, okay? So those go back into the freezer. So, whilst we are waiting for our cookies to set in the freezer, let's preheat our oven. So the oven needs to be preheated to 160 degrees fan, 180 without the fan, and gas mark 4, okay? My oven has an option of turning the fan off, so I prefer to bake biscuits and cookies without the fan. I just feel like they bake better without the fan. So I am going to put them on 180 degrees without the fan, okay? But if you have only the option for just a fan, then just bake it at 160. And if you have a gas oven, it's gas mark 4, okay? So get yourself a baking tray, a flat tray, any kind of flat baking tray, and you want to cover your baking tray with baking paper. We've got our baking tray ready for our cookies to go on. So let's get our cookies out of the freezer. We need to put your cookies on the baking tray, and we make sure there's a large distance between each cookie, okay? You've got 4 cookies on your baking tray like this. Bake your cookies in the oven for about 12 minutes until they flatten and the edges go nice and brown. 12 minutes in the oven. Bismillah. They look like they are done. Right, so once your cookies are ready, they should have a slight brown on the edge, okay? They will be puffed up and they will be still soft, okay, when you take them out of the oven. Very important not to move them. Let them cool down on the tray before you attempt to move them, okay? So before you handle them, let them cool down for about 15 minutes, okay? Now, it depends on how you want to serve them, okay? If you want to serve them and you want the center to be like nice and gooey, stay gooey for about an hour. Up to about an hour, 40 minutes until after you bake them from the middle. But once they've cooled down like completely, like after an hour, the Nutella will set inside and it won't be like oozing. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So if you do bake them in advance, the Nutella will set inside, okay, once they cool down. But if you want to serve them as oozing ones, then you want to bake them, let them cool for about 15 minutes and then serve them. Okay, so you can make the dough in advance and freeze it and then bake them when your guests arrive, and that way they'll be warm and then the Nutella will ooze out instead of be set. Does everyone understand that? Let's have a look at our cookies. So it's set now. Here, can you see it's baked from the bottom? Should be nice and brown. The edges are brown as well, but the middle is still quite pale. So let's have a look at the center. Thank you so much for joining me today. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your cookies. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your families. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye everyone.